When you're off-roading, do giant rocks sometimes jump out in front of your truck, almost breaking all of your steering components and axle components? Or do you just not like looking where you're going when you're driving? Neither of those things have ever happened to us. But that's why today we are going to be installing Reid Racing Knuckles. These are 100% steel, and they will be replacing the Rubicon JT and JL factory aluminum knuckles. If you have a Jeep Diesel or a Jeep Mojave, those come with factory steel knuckles, but on the Rubicon model, Jeep went with the aluminum knuckles, so they are prone to bending and even in worst case scenarios breaking catastrophically. So we are going to add some newfound strength to the front axle on our Jeep Gladiator. Stay tuned. First thing that you want to do is make sure that the kids are tied up in another room where they're not going to bother you, and grab your bottle jack. Fits perfectly underneath the back seat. And get the Jeep jacked up. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take off the two caliper bolts, which you'll see these big bolts right here. Boom, boom, second one. Yeah, this is a 13/16. I'm sure there's a metric for it, but there's two. Don't back them all the way out because you want to be able to catch the caliper when it comes loose. And make sure you set these bolts aside in a safe place. All right, when you get those two bolts out, the caliper should just come right off. There you go. Now you can have a hanging bracket to hang the caliper, or I've got my tire right here, so it can literally just sit right on the tire. You just want to make sure that you're not pulling on the brake line or breaking the brake line. Hey guys, this is Chris from the future, and before we go further in this video, I just had to give a huge shout out to Lewis at Reckless Motorsports. He had saw that I was getting ready to install these and started reaching out to me on a Saturday just to make sure I didn't have any problems with the install, and then he started feeding me like torque specs for all the different bolts. So that was really cool of him, and I didn't even buy these from their shop. So really helpful. If you guys have any questions about Jeep upgrades, or maybe you're having problems with your Jeep, definitely reach out to Reckless Motorsports. They're crazy knowledgeable when it comes to any kind of problems or upgrades that you might have. And we're not sponsored by them. I didn't even buy these knuckles from him. But if you do go to Reckless Motorsports, be sure to let them know that Barely Made It sent you. Okay, next you're gonna take the T30 and you're gonna come onto the front and take off the securing pin for the rotor. Make sure you save that somewhere safe because I lost the other one. And then you can just pop the rotor right off. Easy. So now that we've gotten our brake rotor off, we're going to remove the three 10mm bolts that hold on the brake dust shield. And there's one, two, and then the third one's down here. So we'll grab a 10mm. You can use a ratchet. These aren't on super tight, so. And all of these steps that I'm doing are the exact same for the passenger side. And the heat shield comes off. Put that somewhere safe with the brake parts. Okay, next we're gonna go ahead and take out the speed sensor, or the wheel rotation sensor, I don't know what that's called. This says it's a 3/16. I don't know what the metric is. So yeah, you can see it just already broke loose. And then this sensor will just wiggle right out like that. Now the next thing we want to do is remove the bracket, which is in the front on this side. The bracket over here using a 13mm box wrench. And this is just going to move this whole bracket out of this whole line out of the way in case we have to use the big fucking hammer to get this knuckle off. God, why is it so tight? Then that'll come out, and I'm just going to move this whole assembly kind of like out of the way. Try to make sure that this doesn't get like dirt in it and stuff. I'm saying that, and it's like
touching everything.
I'm just like rubbing it along everything that's dirty. So that's
Don't
good.
do what I'm doing.
Yeah, and now I'm just going to put this bolt back into its place. All right, that's great. So now we have everything removed. We're gonna go ahead and remove the axle shaft. And this is super easy, but you need to make sure that you use the right tool. You have to use a 12-point, 13mm socket, because if you don't, you could run the risk of actually stripping these. So that's what we're gonna use. There we go, there's one. There's 3 of these. And just make sure you set them somewhere safe. 2. 3. Look at that Ryobi working. It's the cheapest of the cheap, man. Probably get more crap in the comments for using a Ryobi than anything else. Okay, now we've got all that fun stuff off. Now the axle should just wiggle right out. You can see it's already starting to move. There we go. Straight out. And just be really careful when you pull this part out because you don't want to damage the seal. There we go. Nice axle. And just set that down in a nice clean and dry location. Okay. Next, we are going to grab, I'm going to be like ultra fisheye in this thing. Next, we're going to grab just a little something to get these freaking, what the hell happened there? Ow, sorry. Okay.
Pick a side.
Oh crap, this one's like...
That's supposed to be bent.
Just take these cotter pins out. Okay, so now you're gonna take your 7/8 and a big wrench. This isn't on super tight, so yes, I'm using the torque. And you're going to just loosen these up. Ah, jeez. I told you to come on that side. Come on this side. Like, come on this side. Oh crap. Okay, you're gonna take these off, but don't take them all the way loose. They shouldn't be on very tight, which is why I'm using a Torx wrench to get them off. They're like 35 on the bottom and 55 on the top. And you loosen the bottom one.
Mike, I want you to get Sadie out.
Now, if you've got new ball joints, this is a really good time to install the new ball joints because you'll have the knuckle out. Now, this is the part where I had the problem on the passenger side. You need to take Thor's hammer here and just okay, one more. Yay! Opa! All right, that's why you keep the nuts in, because if the nuts weren't in, it would just fall flat down. So now you can take the castle nuts off. Top and bottom. Fantastic. Save your top retaining pin and make sure you note which bolt goes in where. I already have the Dynatrac ball joints in here, but if you have the stock ball joints, this would be a great time to replace these because every time you take the axle shaft out, you can risk damaging the seal on the inside. Okay, now on the Reids, they come with both sides having a drag link and a tie rod mount. So don't be alarmed, just make sure that you order the ones for your setup. So for example, I'm running the standard stock drag link setup, which doesn't relocate it to the top mount. It still goes in from the bottom, but you can, if you have a 4.5 inch lift or higher, get the relocation so that it goes into the top. But both of these are the same on both sides. So now we're gonna slide this in. We're gonna take our retaining pin. Make sure it's lined up. You can't get this wrong because it's got a flat spot here. So it pushes right in like that. Then we're gonna, the bottom doesn't have it, just the top. God dang, this thing is heavy. All right. Okay. Then we're gonna get our castle nuts on.
So you don't have to hold the dang thing?
Yep. Okay, now this part is important. You have to use the manufacturer's specs for your ball joints when you are torquing these down. Okay, so for my Dynamax ball joints, the procedure is 15 foot-pounds at the bottom, then 55 at the top, and then 35 at the bottom, which is 180 inch-pounds because I only have this inch-pound deal here. I will leave all of these specs in the description of the video. It's really not very much. When you do this method, make sure that you're following, if you have the stock Jeep ball joints, make sure that you follow the torquing steps for the stock Jeep ones. At 55 foot-pounds, there we go. Before you go to the bottom, you're supposed to put the cotter pin in on the top end. Wow, you align it to the second hole. If you can see that. There's 2 holes right here. You put it in the top one. And if for whatever reason you can't fit it in because the castle nut is like blocking it, always tighten it more, don't loosen it. There we go. And then now the bottom gets torqued to 35. That was quick. And looks like we are quite a ways off on the cotter pin. All right, good to go. That's great. Now we're gonna put the axle back in, okay? What do you think of my shaft?
Can we stop with the dick jokes?
That was so funny. I'm sorry. Oh, I might have another one.
I'm sure you do.
Make sure that you put this in really nice and gently.
Just how the ladies like it.
This is gonna be right here. All right, now we can get our 13mm star bolts and get them lined up on the back. So just get all these in hand tight, and then what we're gonna do is tighten them down to 75 foot-pounds. One, 2, 3. Perfect. All right, at this point, you can go ahead and reattach your speed sensor. Okay, this is easy. Just goes right down there. Tighten this up. It's because I need a set of ratcheting box wrenches for Christmas.
Send me a link, baby.
I got you links. Make sure this is tight because you don't want this to rattle. So just make sure it's nice and tight. Okay, great. Now we're gonna take our speed sensor and we are going to gently plug it back down in there. We will take our Allen. This is supposed to be torqued to 5 foot-pounds, but I don't have something that measures that small, so I'm just gonna kind of get it hand tight. Don't crank on it. There we go. And awesome. Okay, so now we can grab our brake dust shield. And if you're planning on going to SEMA, this might be a good time to like clean all this up. Next, we are going to put our brake rotor back on. So we'll grab our brake rotor here. We've got our retaining T30. Make sure that lines up. Put your brake rotor. Which, having this retainer really helps for getting the caliper back on. It's kind of a pain in the ass to hold it all flat. Now we're gonna go ahead and put our caliper back on. So get your caliper bolts ready and be careful that you don't twist the brake line or anything like that. This guy should slide right back on easily. There we go. And if you've got two people, one might be able to hold it for you while you get these bolts set. It's easy to see like exactly what's changed with these bright orange knuckles. Like you can see, like boom, boom. Okay, then we're gonna get, so this is a 7/8, and it's gonna be 145 foot-pounds. So it's like basically as high as my torque wrench will go. Perfect. And that's it, you're done. No, we've got a couple more steps. What am I using the box for?
Yeah, to hold it?
Yeah, to hold my tie rod up so it doesn't break. I mean, not that it would break, but I don't want it to break the cheapo Fox stabilizer that we got. All right, so then I'm gonna take the tie rod over on this side and just work on getting it started. All right. And then we'll go do the other side. Get that stabilizer. Don't tighten these all the way because you need to be able to get them in the hole. All right. There we go. Nice and tight. We'll do the other side. I think we're done now.
What about the wheels?
We gotta put the wheels back on. That's pretty self-explanatory. So put your wheels back on. Make sure everything's tight. Give everything a once, twice, second, third look over to make sure that you've not forgotten a step. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Tried to make it as informative as possible. Let us know if you're having any problems in the comments, and be sure to stay tuned and subscribe. We're gonna be posting a lot more awesome adventure videos. Thanks for watching.